And we're back, everybody. Hi. Oh my gosh, I feel like it's been forever because I've been swamped for like 2 weeks. Craziest 2 weeks. I'm not gonna save my life because that'd be a lie. But oh my gosh, between the unemployment, the mediation, we had a friend that lost a child, we had a funeral. This flippin' timeline, I'm telling you, it's 26 pages. I can't do anything half-assed. I can't. I would rather like give you what I gave you this last week and then come to you with like a banger than to give you something half-assed. I won't do it. I won't do it. That's just not who I am. So yeah, and in the honor of I was just putting on whatever school pride I had. I didn't graduate from Greenway, but I went there for a year and a half, and it's the state hockey tournament my husband was watching all weekend. So it was nice. We were just in comfy clothes, no makeup, and honestly, this is just going to be a voiceover episode. So I figured for the 30 seconds that I am going to be in front of the camera, I don't care. So here we are. I'm so excited to bring you this timeline. I have no idea how I'm going to do it because that's how I roll every time I sit in the seat. No clue. It's like 7:00 at night right now. I've been working on stuff all day. This is how long, and not to mention I have daylight savings time working against me. And the kids are in the bathtub right now with Justin. Well, not with him. He's giving them a bath. Oh, please don't call CPS on me. Please, God, no, don't do it. Um, so yeah, let's just get into this. I really hope it's easy to understand and follow. What I did is I tried to put, obviously our whole story is in there. So like the pieces that are pertinent to our journey are obviously in there. But then throughout that, just all the information that I've acquired about City of Rice Lake, and I've acquired a lot. I have so many people reaching out to me and giving me information, whether it's somebody that's worked with the city in the past, somebody that's got a relative that worked for the city in the past, you name it, they've come to me. So I've just been collecting, and that's why this was not an easy task, because I've also tried to protect people along the way, just because I know what it's like to be retaliated against, and I don't want that to happen to anybody. So here we are. What is it? Episode 5? It's episode 5. That's awesome. Welcome to Do Your Worst. In order to not make this the longest, like most boring episodes ever, I'm gonna skim through a lot of the parts that are just basic facts, but I'm hoping that if you do want to read something, just feel free to pause and go ahead and read. There's nothing that is on here that I wouldn't post publicly, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just basic information. This is a detailed event timeline chronologically, and I just put the city demographics, the city in 2015, the population, 32 square miles of roads, starting out with the staff, the bare bones staff that existed, and also got a little information on how the first like council was constructed and how the terms were. So that's kind of a cool read, that I thought if somebody wants to stop and read that, go ahead. And then what I'm going to do is just going to hit the highlights of our story, but also anything that like really ties into us. So Justin gets hired in 2017. The first mayor was John Werner, and he was a key figure. And he went to the Duluth street maintenance supervisor for employee recommendations. Justin was highly recommended as a great fit for City of Rice Lake due to his work ethic, adaptability. And he was the second public works and the only dedicated road maintenance. So I don't want to discredit Chanel because he was pretty much their only guy forever. But like as the city um, started to grow, he couldn't do everything because the utilities needed so much attention. They really needed to start doing a divided road and utilities. So that's when he first met Daryl Johnson. And then through this, you'll see a pattern of like people that have been hired and fired, and like for, I would say for certain people to climb the ladder. You know, we got Holly Hurstead was established as treasurer, and then the minute she's gone, Tony assumes her position. And then this one was a weird one. I got information on this planning consultant, and I thought it was important to put in here. Uh, in short, this guy I heard was a jerk. I don't know from my own personal experience, but he was demeaning. But he came from city of Hermantown, which I found that to be interesting, since it seems like I see a lot of correlation of us trying to, I don't know, do what Hermantown does. But he also worked with Daryl Johnson, and he was paid by the city of Rice Lake, but he was working with Daryl Johnson. And at one point he asks to bend the rules. And he asked the wrong person, because he asked Teresa Koivula to bend the rules. And I don't know if any of y'all have all met Teresa. She doesn't bend rules. And I love her. She's great. But yeah, between her and Joan Joss, I think that's how you say her last name, Joss or Joss. They were great, honest, truthful women that, followed the rules. So anyway, he ended up getting terminated, this John Clares, or like dismissed as the city planner, if you will. And then I noted on here that they put Justin Alshire was nominated by the staff for the chair of the new established safety committee. And that is going to be coming up later when I do a rundown of the unemployment denial that Tony has put us through the ringer on. She tried to use this, and it came up out of nowhere. I never even knew this was a fact. And then all of a sudden it's on Justin's unemployment stuff. And I'm like, how is that going to help your case? Because I know she's trying to go with the angle of like, oh, he was the safety chair and he should be leading by example. But they nominated him because he's a rule follower. I guarantee it. And this was back when John Werner was alive. And it sounds to me like nobody really wanted to be the chair. And if you know Justin, he does follow the rules. So that's probably why they ended up not liking him, because he was probably holding them to what he knew to be right. I'm just saying. So there was some changes in 2018, August of 2018. That's when Joan Just, what I've heard is that she was sensing an inevitable change, and she was seeing a lot of things that just didn't sit right. And she just had a strong motivation to retire. And I don't know if there's more to that story, but lo and behold, Tony was almost hired immediately to fill her role, having served as a part-time deputy clerk. Like, she goes from a part-time deputy clerk to the city clerk, treasurer, then city clerk, catch the pattern. There was some information I received that Teresa Koivula had spoke with Daryl Johnson, and basically Daryl said that he was going to recommend Carly Hungerford, and that was the wife of his top employee. And at that time, Teresa said, I have no objections. I don't even know her. And apparently Johnson said, we'll see what you think about that after she is hired. And I only got that on paper, so you could read that a million ways. So let imagination go wild. Carly was then hired to fill the vacant deputy clerk spot. Again, there's the little layout of the workers. 2018, that's when we come in the picture. We bought the property. We bought the 40 acres on the Duluth side, 7.5 on the Rice Lake. We held an open house because that house was absolutely disgusting, and we just wanted to like wow people with the before and after, because I could see it. I could feel like what I could do and the potential that existed, and I just wanted people to walk through before we got started. Daryl and John were both there. And of course, when you buy a golf course and you're like going on the biggest adventure of your life, you find out you're pregnant. But sadly, that turned into a miscarriage at 10 weeks. And I'm only saying this, I'm only bringing up a detail like this, and you'll see other ones throughout, because it is important to note these things when these specific people who have been involved, like pretty close to our close knit group, if you will, knowing our entire story, then in the future use our most vulnerable topic to weaponize against us. And so you don't throw stones in glass houses. So I'm going to make sure that everybody knows all the details that everybody at City Rice Lake pretty much knew. I don't know if they know about the miscarriages. I can't speak to that, but I do know that they knew everything else. So I'm putting it in here, and I want to give you guys a chance to get to know us. So that'd be part of that. So the home renovations in from basically November to April was this period was super exhausting. It was a renovation of that Rice Lake house. We spent every spare minute and dime taking the house down to studs, including jackhammering floors, late nights working our regular full-time jobs, and then renovating all night long, and then driving back and forth to Duluth Heights because that's where we lived. We discovered we were pregnant with our second baby, Amelia Marie. And then I just put this in here because it just came up with our unemployment documents. But I just find this to be one of the weirdest things. And I'm just going to let you decide what you think. So clearly it was after John Werner's death. Tony, because it obviously we never looked at his file before then, but I'll explain to this and you'll see why I say that. She created a fake write-up based on hearsay with no actual date. It just said March 2019, no signatures besides her own. And the document claimed that John Werner, the late John Werner, told her that Justin Alshire used the freaking grader to, I can't even say it without laughing, but to plow his personal driveway by taking it, like, he would have to have gone down Martin Road, down Arnold Road, to a house we didn't even live at, a golf course that had been vacant for 3 years. We didn't even touch the snow ever because it was like, we're not even going to go over there. Why? The absurdity of plowing a residential driveway with a pardon me, giant fucking grader is laughable. And I don't know why this decided, I don't know if she got some information wrong, or I don't know if it was actually about Justin Alshire. I'm not really sure. I don't know. But I just know that if John Werner was alive and he said this, and then you felt like it was a need to write somebody up, why didn't you get him to sign it? If this was truly from him, where's his signature? And where's the date that this happened? What date was that? I'm curious. But she's consistently refused to remove this. We brought it up we had Heather, his rep, say it one time. And then just most recently, Justin finally rattled back off at her and said, can you please remove this? It's ridiculous. It shouldn't be in there. And now she's trying to use it for denying his unemployment, which it's just Tony in all her glorious Tony ways. April 2019, we had the water and sewer hookup. The Rice Lake house was connected to city sewer and water, and Daryl Johnson Excavating performed the work for a total of $25,325. Obviously, we got to know Daryl because we trusted John Werner, and that was John's guy. And so we thought, if we're going to have anybody doing work for us, it's going to be Daryl, of course. And that's just the way we are. We're old fashioned, and we stayed true to our friend, or who we thought was our friend. And even if the work seemed like bid a little high or whatever, it didn't matter. It was like, no, we don't go with anybody else but Daryl, so it doesn't matter. He'll take care of us. Boy, were we wrong in the future. Anyway, during that process, and this is where I really don't know if it was Daryl being Daryl in drama, because I have caught him in a couple other lies that he literally told me flat out lie, and I didn't understand it. And then I found out it wasn't even true, but he like told me for like some drama effect. I'm not sure, but he comes to me during this process, and I was talking to him about assessing the hookups and the trunk fees. And he says that Tony says to him, like she was kind of like almost not wanting to do it. And he tells me that she says, I don't know, Daryl, would you give them a personal loan? And I can't say that I don't know for certain that this is true. I don't know. But because Daryl lies. But that is one of the first things that I remember learning about Tony. And that is not a fun way to like start off with somebody, thinking that like they're going to try to control you or in some form like withhold this power, if you will. Like it's not even, oh, anyway, I could go on. I just need to move on. She makes me so upset. Um Also, I'm going to circle back around on a different episode, but we ended up after like going through all this and feeling attacked and trying to figure out where the heck all this hatred towards us came from and like these events. Um, I basically discovered that at the time that we hooked up, Daryl hooked us up to a private line without our knowledge and without the private line owner's knowledge. So I'm going to get into that later. That's coming, but that's a big one. And it's got a whole um, order of events that I think need to be said in the right format. In May of 2019, we had our first renters moved in. So yeah, in that unlivable house that had nobody living there while we were living in the Duluth Heights, but apparently using a grader to plow our driveway. The interior renovations were successfully completed, and the first renters moved in. We spent that next summer doing exterior upgrades. Kathy Carlson, that's Justin Schindell's aunt, retired as the utility clerk. Now, she, I was told, was used the rule of 90, which basically means that she had been working with the union for so long that she was able to take her age and the years in and then retire. But I heard that it was so nasty for her at the end working in city hall because Tony and Carly and whoever were just so freaking evil to her. They basically would tell her like she doesn't work and like accuse her of being lazy. But then when she did do work, they said she didn't do it right. So then they stopped giving her any work. And I guess they were just like complete bullies. And the best part is from what I hear, it sounds like Kathy was pretty freaking cool about it. And she was just like, whatever, if they want to take work from me, go ahead. It means I have less work to do because she knew she was going to get out of there. And she did. So Kathy, if you're listening, I'd love to hear your side of the story on what went down. But yeah, it sounds like you were in the snake pit with yeah, with all of that. So July 2019, we had the Yulin brothers renting our parking lot for the Arnold Road construction. Caroline Hagstrom, the wife of Counselor John Hagstrom, was hired as the utility clerk. We sold my house in the Duluth Heights that I had bought all by myself as a 29-year-old woman, single, and I renovated it by myself. When I met Justin, we like decided to do projects on it. Obviously, that was like how I tested out if he could hang with me. I was like, I don't stop moving. Can you do this? Um, Anyway, we moved to the Duluth side of Arnold Road. We lived in a camper. Yeah, we lived in a camper. Not the first time, won't be the last time. And we renovated the clubhouse. Now, I just want to put this little piece because I didn't write it down. I was freaking pregnant with Amelia Bedelia, but in the defense of that pregnancy was absolutely flawless. I seriously don't like
Way to
if
start
somebody
that.
would have told me what was about to happen when I delivered her, I would have never believed them because the pregnancy was so amazing. Um, but yeah, then the bike rack that was at the former golf course, we donated it to the Rice Lake City Park. I usually don't say those kind of things. I don't really want recognition, but the people we're going up against, I think it's important to show how many things we did for the city. Um, just doing a little jotted note of the people in the staff. The one only change really is that we have Carly Hungerford now and Caroline Hagstrom and Kathy LaFave. is now a part-time office staff. And then we have Amelia Bedelia coming into the world. She was born full term, perfect pregnancy, but major complications in the birthing process when I delivered her. We spent 1 month in the NICU, primarily in St. Paul, Minnesota. At 20 days old, she underwent brain surgery that they call a third ventriculostomy. And we only had this old beater truck for Justin, and he drove it back and forth, but we were like kind of afraid it would die. And so he even took the shuttle at times, just to keep working with this, for the city, which heavily relied on him. And we never felt unappreciated until John Werner was gone. So if that says anything for you. So yeah, he always tried to be there for John no matter what, and the city. He always did. December 2019, the clubhouse remodel is still unfinished. It was supposed to be done by the time it was supposed to be done by November, because we're living in a camper with a baby on the way, because that's not stressful. And so we had to move into my brother's house in Hermantown, and then we eventually moved into the clubhouse. It was like finishing work that we could do. But Amelia started a home daycare, and we later discovered, just when we started really digging into everything, that it was actually ran by Tony's sister-in-law. So that's weird. Which we thought for a second, we're like, hey, maybe she's just going hard for her sister-in-law. I'm not sure. Caroline Hagstrom was terminated while in her probationary period. February of 2020, I love this. There was this positive performance review, and Justin received a glowing performance from Tony, which complimented his strong work ethic and praised him, stating, Justin, I appreciate your positive attitude and your willingness to always help with whatever is asked of you. I also appreciate your punctuality, your reliability, your great addition to our team. This stands in stark contrast to her later events because, again, this specific review I just used in unemployment docs because she said that he was awful going all the way back to 2019 and referenced this rogue grader trip. Um, yeah, but if he was so awful, then how in February 2020, how were you able to just like give him a glowing review? Like those two things can't exist together, Tony. You either think he's awful and you say he's awful and you take your chances to say he's awful, or you obviously must have liked him at this point. That's interesting. March 2020, COVID-19 and the pandemic began, and I work in the dental field. The relationship with the daycare soured. Remember, that's Tony's sister-in-law. Despite the global shutdown, I was jobless. And I had been back to work for 3 months after having a very traumatic extended maternity leave and was facing unbelievable medical bills. Like just the helicopter ride down to the cities alone was like $100,000. Obviously, we don't have to pay for all that, but just the stress right now, right? And I had to file unemployment. I was getting $200 a week, and that's how much daycare was like supposed to be. Well, they insisted that I keep paying for her, but then I had her home with me and she couldn't attend. Like, no, that's not the way this works. If I'm on unemployment because the world's shutting down, so are you. Sorry. And that's one of the things that we tried to figure out, if maybe that was the spurred moment. I don't know. July of 2020, Robin is hired as the utility clerk. June of 2020, I have to work. Like we couldn't. Like I was panicking, so I took a position. There were very few dental offices open during this time, and that's when I started my new job at Lake Superior Dental. I've been there ever since, and I love them. So Amelia starts a new daycare, and get this is wild. So Shane Downey's daughter just happens to go there. I haven't seen him since childhood. And then we go to this random daycare on 61st East or whatever it is. And there's Shane Downey. And then he comes into my life later on. And it was weird. It was like, whoa. We allowed the city of Rice Lake to put a fire hydrant on the corner of our Duluth property at Arnold Road and East Calvary, and that was kind of during the whole road construction thing. So again, just wanting city of Rice Lake to thrive, just to absolutely thrive. So we're doing these things to try to help them out. August of 2020, we got married. Boy, was that interesting. We had postponed it and we were supposed to have a baby and whatever. And I'm going to play the video for you because I just think it's awesome. But we hosted it here. We invited anyone and everyone that wanted to come and celebrate because we were kind of like anti believing in COVID. And boy, were we right. But we're like, hey, we have 40 acres. You can stand 6 feet apart. If you want to flip and get out of the house and just be outside in the air and attend a wedding and have fun and hear music, come, please come. Like, the world is weird. So, but Suzanne Herstead was there. Trista Coivola was there. The family of Andy and Candy Werner were there. And I just had to put this little tidbit in here. It was like days before the wedding, and this still warms my heart because it is so John Werner, and I had to put it in here. So all of a sudden I'm at the clubhouse and I hear a knock and I can't see out the front door. So I open it and there's John Werner and he's got a card and he says, "I got your wedding card." And he hands it to me. "Oh, John, thank you." And I said, "You didn't have to hand deliver." And he's like, "Well, I did because we're not going to be able to attend, but I wanted to make sure you got it." And we had small chat. And of course, in that talk, he's like, "Well, the weather is supposed to be like 98 degrees humidity factor on Saturday." And I'm just like, I look back and I just smile and giggle because like that was just who he was. Like, he was always watching the forecast because that he needed to, and he was like always in the know about what was coming up. And I think it's so dang cute because like he's telling a bride who's probably like, I was chill before, but like everything went wrong. But you tell a bride that it's gonna be perfect. You tell a bride it's like it's gonna be the most wonderful day ever. But like he's like, "Oh, 98 degrees humidity factor predicted for Saturday." And let me tell you, it freaking was. It had to be like over 100. People were sweating. They called our tent the sweat lodge. It was so hot. It was so sweaty. And John was right, but he delivered our card, and that will forever be like a sweet, sweet memory for him, for me, for him, for whatever. So I'm going to pause here and I want to play our wedding video because I just think we have so much stuff to cover. I don't want this to get so boring. So I took our wedding video, which was kind of longer, but I snipped it up and just put some highlights in there so you can feel like you got to enjoy the day with us. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll get back to the timeline.
We've been looking at some strong and severe storms that will be moving through Minnesota. There's a thunderstorm watch for Minnesota 1A. The system will continue to move through looking like Sunday as well after a break on Saturday.
If anyone has heard a little bit about what's been going on here in the last 18 hours, it's been a little exciting. Folks getting out of bed in the middle of the night, waking up early, bringing in equipment. We built a road, we saved a tent, and they built this damn place together. And if that doesn't test a marriage, I don't know what does.
Let's just go.
I let my dream go past her. Taking my time, thinking her up. I put out the morning passion.
Their strength and love and faith have been tested. But there's always a higher power there to help us through it. I was able to visit little Amelia while she was visiting the hospital and see these two during that time. And it was amazing. They were stoic, they were calm, and most importantly, through all of it, they were a team. And I think anyone here who's been in a serious marriage or a serious relationship can tell you it's a team sport. And we've got a Hall of Fame duo here.
You all here. It was like this is never gonna happen between like, oh, whoa, I'm pregnant, let's move the wedding. Oh, virus? 10 class. But I'm gonna continue to do it because I love him, I love you, and I love all of you.
Reach the stars, sing, drive all night, chase the feeling. All I need in life is you and I. All I need in life is you and I. You and I, you and I, you and I.
So ridiculously cheesy, but if I could relive that day and just, oh my gosh, not have the stress, but just go back, and it was so freaking fun. And if I could just like avoid the massive thunderstorm and the 98% humidity, John. No, I wouldn't change a thing, but it is what it is. It makes us who we are. So getting back to the timeline, I'm going to try to at least get through some more. I'm trying to split this into 2 episodes so we can get to a stopping point. But so September 2020, we have Werner for mayor and Herstead for city council, signs in our yard. You can see some changes in the staff and the city council. Jamie Himes on there now. I think she's been there for a little bit. But anyway, Public Works hires Justin Rosencrantz from Ziegler. He worked the parts counter, had 0 prior road maintenance experience, and Justin Alshire had to train him. So he was good for something, he could train everybody else, but then when they decided to go against him, I guess he was a pile of shit. So it's like, that's interesting. He was good enough then, but he's not good enough now. Okay. Cool. February 2021, we found out we were pregnant again with the 3rd baby, Mrs. June Riley. She was number 3 little nugget. And this was, I just wanted to put some of these in here so you can start getting an idea, but the LSE house builds are usually awarded in March. And so Daryl got his again. He sat on the board for them. And he basically said that the house on Willard Road was important because his son was in the class, and it was last year for John Calcaterra. Moving forward, the June of 2021, our lives flipped on their heads again. At 23 and a half weeks, I find out at an appointment for baby June that she was diagnosed with severe L3 myelomeningocele. It's a form of spina bifida. Life comes to a screeching halt. I have to leave my job. I don't even know if I can return. I'm getting my head wrapped around the fact that I'm maybe parenting a child guaranteed to be in a wheelchair or with significant support. They gave us very limited options, very scary options, but one of those was an in utero surgery that we opted for to try to attempt to give her a fighting chance at life. And it was through me for her. And then it was the 13th one performed at the Midwest Prenatal Care Center in the Children's Hospital in Minneapolis. It was a 7.5 hour surgery. So, like, if anybody tries to say, I've had a C-section, go F yourself. This is not the same. 7.5 hour surgery. It was deemed absolutely perfect. Textbook. This is what's really hard for me in my journey with the children, is that I have always had a scenario where they say, oh, it's perfect, it's this, it's that, and then outcomes are just devastating. So it's like that never added up for me. It never made sense how I'd be so lucky to have something go so great and then something else would just slap me in the face. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I just wanted to say that surgery went fantastic. And then because of the contract I had with the surgeons, I'd live down in the cities
go
for
get
the
to
remainder of my
see?
pregnancy and be close to the hospital.
You get to see Tom
One of the
Tom?
hardest things prior to losing June, I mean, just being away from
Tom
Amelia
Tom, can
at
you give
one and a
Tom
half
Tom a
years old, I
kiss for
was
mommy?
devastated. But I knew that I had to
Nope, you're
like
not gonna give him a kiss.
do
Can you give
that
me
for
a
this
kiss?
child. And then,
No.
don't want to get into those details. But
Got it. Okay.
Justin remained
Adios,
home with
amigo.
Amelia, and she was 1.5
love
years
you.
old, diagnosed with cerebral palsy. I mean,
Bye, Daddy.
yes, I don't like to bring this up, but she still had struggles. I mean, we still had physical therapy, PT, OT, all these extra things. Like, he had to do all of that, which I usually did, and then continue to work and bring Amelia to daycare and be the sole manager of like our properties, mowing constantly. He was amazing, and he did it all by himself. And then he continued to be there for the city of Rice Lake. And that is exactly why this is important, to make sure these details are noted, because those assholes. Anyway, July of 21, I find out that June is no longer with us. And I found that out by looking at this giant ultrasound screen at these hospitals that have like I want to say 50, 60-inch screen in front of you. And there was no heartbeat, and I could see it. So Monday morning, I called Justin, and he had to go straight to City Hall because he was obviously working, and he had to talk to Tony and John about leaving immediately for the cities and getting Amelia and all the things. I had to wait 2 days to be induced, and I carrying a dead baby in my belly for those days. I had to deliver her. They manually broke my water, and then I delivered her stillborn and baptized her and spent a few hours with her in a cooling bed. That was preservation, so it's kind of like the opposite of what you think of a newborn, all snug and cozy, and it had to be the opposite. And then we had to leave her at the hospital and go sleep in a hotel, so we didn't get charged for another night at the hospital. And I quoted myself saying, "Hell would have been kinder." It was pretty awful. So moving on, in August, we had a funeral for her, and we had it at our house in our backyard, and actually Carly and Ferris attended. So what I want to make sure that I say this, and you'll see that I say that there was a sympathy card from Daryl and Yvette, and they removed and gifted a $600 invoice that we had of work from them, or rock or something. And I make sure to put these points in there because I don't want to constantly be known as somebody who is just attack. And I want you to understand that this is why it hurts so bad when all this stuff started happening, because we truly believed that these people were our friends. I mean, that's what I want to put in here, is the real life aspect of, like, if you truly don't like somebody, you don't go to their child's funeral, or you don't give them a card and give them money. Like, you don't do that if you hate them. So that's why I thought it was important to put that in here. And then January 2022, so coming out of the grief and all the things, Justin came home and he was talking about Daryl's college houses. I've never even heard this before. So I start like doing my typical Tara thing. And it's like, once I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm like, I can't stop. But when I reached out to Daryl, it was really weird because it was like short, cold. Like, he gave me really like unwanted vibes, almost like, no, these LSE houses are mine. It was just like really strange. And I just began communicating with the carpentry instructor. And I had an in-person, persistence pays off. It's the whole reason we got the golf course is I had to just basically chase down the guy that owned this place before. Anyway, it was Daryl's son's last year. He stressed this importance to me, and he stressed the fact that John Calcaterra would be overseeing it as his last house. It was like the same exact thing he claimed like the year prior. So I didn't know that he had said that, but now that I have talked to people, I submit our application in March, and then Daryl does some digging on our land to test the soils for the build, and we paid him. Of course, we paid him. It was $1,100, and then we went, and before we got the house build and like before we bit off more than we can chew, I told him, I said, I want to come see your Willard house because I knew he owned the land. It was very comparable for us as far as like he owned the land, we own the land. And I just asked him what his numbers were. And he claimed that he invested approximately $400,000 into the house build alone. That doesn't include the land, obviously. And so then in May, we're awarded the LSC house build for the 22-23 school year. And it's like the minute they gave me that letter on May 5th, I like everything went blurry. Like I was immediately scrambling. You have to like to do what I needed to do from May and have it ready by August was damn near impossible. Like I had to get my bank loan secured, my sworn construction statements, my contractors. I mean, and there's so many rules. You can't touch the land before you get the loan instated. I mean, it just was wild. It was like one of the most stressful coordinating things I've ever done. And then July of 22, Teresa Cuevela resigns from her position at City Hall. And I will go over a little thing about this coming up, but for the longest time, I didn't realize she had resigned. And I'll explain that in the future. But after now knowing the real story and then talking to her, and getting her resignation letter and a data request that I requested and then just reaching out to her. Yeah, there's so much more there. So I'll let you read that if you want. And then, of course, Carly, Daryl's employee's wife, was changed to zoning administrator like almost immediately. So, I mean, within a short time. And then I found out that Daryl sold this LSC house that was over on Willard that he just told me he had $400,000 into, and it sold for $589,500. So roughly $150,000 profit, give or take with the land and everything else. Probably no capital gains because he owned the land for a good amount of time. Anyway, moving on. We signed in August. Obviously, we're going to support Daryl Johnson Excavating because that's what we do. And we signed the contract for the dirt work and the future install of utilities for Daryl Johnson Excavating at $125,167.92. As far as the construction of the home, holy smokes, the dig started so late. And I'm not blaming anybody for this. This was the craziest turn of events you could ever even imagine. So the city of Duluth was absolute a-holes when the permitting process came into play. They just gave tons of pushback. I had to scramble and get a de minimis exemption lined up because I didn't have time for a wetland delineation. You asked me and I have done it. And I just felt awful. And I wasn't worried about us. What I was worried about was failing those students, or like, I don't make promises I can't keep. And I was feeling like I was being put into a situation where I couldn't control the fact that we couldn't move forward, and it was driving me wild. So anyway, we were supposed to have the slab ready to go by August. That did not happen. Okay. But the students were able to get started with John Calcaterra at the college, and they got to start framing the walls. And so there was things that we could do, or they could do. And then more delays, because I kid you not, this is not a joke. This is real life. You've probably never heard this before. The city of Duluth had a literal concrete shortage because of the massive demand from the Interstate 35 project. I kid you not. That's literally what happened while we're trying to pour a flippin' slab for these students to get on site. That happens to us. You can't even make this stuff up. Unreal. So October of 22, the ICF's foundation, the plumbing, the slab were finally completed. The students were allowed to reach site. And then they just went to town. These guys, they did so good. I was always proud of those students. It just, the whole scenario was wild. But I'm going to choose to kind of mark these last two as my ending. So we had the North Shore Federal Credit Union ask me to do a commercial, and being that it was like my fourth construction loan with them, and the first person I thought of, I was like, yes, I want it to be obviously Justin, myself, and Amelia, but I was like, Daryl needs to be in this, and it would be so cool if Den and his son would come. And so like North Shore Federal did not ask me to ask them. I asked them because I thought I asked him because I thought he was my friend, like a true friend. So I took that opportunity to like, hey, thank you so much for everything you've done. Come be in this commercial with me. Now I wish I would have never done that, but whatever. I try not to regret anything in life. So I'm going to play that video. We're going to end on that, but I don't want to start on a really sad note. So, let's just finish these last bits of 22. In November, we had a miscarriage of baby number 4, and we'll just leave that at that. It was unbelievable snow. So if anybody remembers the winter of 22, LSC declared most snow days in its history, coinciding the snowiest year on record for 137.1 inches. I mean, come on. Seriously? We're building a freaking house, and we're building a house with a school. And then this. You can't, it was so stressful. Justin would get up before 4 a.m. And like 4 a.m. doesn't even sound early to some people, but I mean, like he would have like maybe 5 hours of sleep every night he would get up, do the shoveling, the clearing, and I would be getting Amelia ready and trying to help, and he would prep the sites. We had a parking lot for the students in the back. And then sometimes after work, he'd have to come back and do the exact same thing and then repeat it all again. It was awful. And then we were so far behind in the contract. You have to keep the kids kind of on schedule, and you want to, because otherwise you're going to be bleeding money. And we were. So in December of 22, we were extremely behind. We had to scramble to find somebody. Thank God I have connections, but oh my God. We had to find somebody willing to do an entire freaking roof in the shit winter. I made sure to write that while students were on Christmas break. So, and that was mandatory. So he had to we found this guy, and we had to get him done by the time the students returned. Like he could not be on site, or the students could not be on site when he was here. It was crazy. So on that note, I'm going to play this video. This is the commercial for North Shore Federal Credit Union. And this is going to take us out for tonight. And then next week, we're going to hit the rest of this timeline. And the rest of this is when we start getting real heavy. It's going to start getting real thick. And that's when all the dirty stuff starts happening. 23 is the year we finish our house and get into it. And then that is the first incident with the truck window switch. And this is when you can really feel the shift. John Warner dies, and they just start going after Justin. And so we're going to get into all that next week, but thank you guys for being here. I hope this first part wasn't too lengthy of a bunch of blabbing, and I hope you enjoy this commercial. I grew up watching my parents work hard for everything we had, and it really shaped me at a young age to just never sit still.
I am Tara Alshire. This is my 4th construction loan with North Shore Federal Credit Union. My first big loan was my first home loan. As a single woman, I was 29 at the time, and I really had fire. If somebody would have told me you're gonna have a whole roller coaster of things happening in the next 5 years, I don't think I'd believe what actually did play out. 2017 we met, 2018 we were engaged, 2019 our daughter was born with some major health complications. Now she's just a beautiful blessing. Having a wedding, after that wedding, deciding that we needed to grow our family a little bit more, and we went into our 2nd pregnancy, finding out it was another baby girl, and then about midway through finding out that she had spina bifida. We did the only thing that seemed right in that moment, which was a surgery that was through me for her, and we lost her. I named her June because that month had changed my life. You can't imagine how hard it is to wake up and continue to have that drive when life has really not been fair. When the house build started happening and coming into our life, it really kind of brought me out of that depression, because I knew that this was a dream of mine, just like she was.
Let's go get him.
Every day I come back and a little bit more has happened, and a little bit more. You start to get this feeling of, oh my gosh, this is real life. And I created it. You have to choose to wake up and keep going and turn whatever happened to you into a positive and give it motivation and let it create a fire that drives you. If you invest in yourself, you'll get 100% return.